wind howls like a starving wolf, a sound that eats all others. It rips across the plaza, a physical brute of ice and fury carving drifts against stone. And in the heart of this white chaos, a lone figure stands unmoving. He is a silhouette of defiance, a sentinel at the tomb of the unknown soldier. The world has run for cover, waiting for the blizzard of the century to blow itself out. But he remains. The air is a storm of freezing particles, shrinking the world to mere feet. It's a place scoured clean of warmth, of life, of everything but the cold. And yet the guard holds his post. Duty is duty, but this is something else. This is a vigil. A burst of static cuts through the wind's roar. It's a ghost of a voice from the command bunker, thin and strained. Sergeant Thorne, this is final command advisory. Acknowledge evacuation order. Jacob, acknowledge the dam order. The storm's exceeding all projections. No one's left. It's an empty city. Come in, son. Your post is relieved. The radio crackles, then dies, swallowed by the blizzard. Sergeant Jacob Thorne doesn't move. His gloved hand doesn't twitch toward the radio. His eyes fixed forward, don't blink. The order was given, and he refused it. Alone against the storm, he's haunted by a promise. And in the heart of the blizzard, that promise is all that matters. The storm was no longer weather. It was a living thing. It pressed in a tangible weight, trying to squeeze the air from his lungs. Every gust felt like a physical blow, enough to stagger a lesser man. But Jacob Thorne stood rooted to the spot. He was a creature of precision, a machine built from years of training. 21 paces, turn, face the tomb for 21 seconds, turn again, repeat. Now the routine was a war. His dress uniform, a symbol of honor, offered little defense against the sub-zero cold. Ice was already forming on the fabric, a stiff, brittle shell. The cold was a clever enemy. It started in his fingertips and toes, a tingle that slowly turned into a deep burning ache. He knew the stages from the manuals, had studied hypothermia with academic distance. Now theory was a brutal reality. The cold whispers of surrender, of the simple warm peace of just stopping. But he fought it. He stamped his feet, forcing blood into his frozen limbs. He focused on the sharp lines of the tomb, a bastion of order in a world of chaos. The voice on the radio belonged to Major Connolly, a good officer who cared for his men. Connolly's order wasn't a suggestion, it was a lifeline. It was a command based on logic and safety, an admission that no one should stand against a force of nature this powerful. The sentinels of the old guard are famous for their unwavering vigil, but this blizzard was different. This was a killer. Evacuation wasn't a disgrace, it was survival. But Jacob was bound by a different order, one Major Connolly could never understand. An order issued not from a bunker, but from the dust and heat of a battlefield half a world away. He adjusted his grip on his rifle, the metal so cold it burned through his glove. The blizzard roared, throwing a fresh wall of snow at him, trying to bury him. He leaned into the wind, a solitary pillar of resolve, and took another step. 21 paces. The count was all that kept the fog from his mind. The blizzard vanishes. The biting wind is replaced by the oppressive heat of a Kandahar afternoon. Jacob is in dusty, sweat-stained fatigues, leaning against a hot Humvee, sharing lukewarm water with Private Michael Sterling. Michael, with his constant grin, takes a long drink. "You see the old guard on TV before we shipped out?" Michael asks, his voice a slice of normal in the tense air. The way they move, not one wasted motion, like statues come to life, incredible. Jacob nods, a small smile on his lips. "It's called perfection, Mike. You wouldn't know anything about it." Michael lets out a loud, genuine laugh. "Hey, my tactical shuffle gets the job done. But seriously, Jake, those guys, they stand guard for the unknowns. For the guys who don't come home. They represent all of us. They make sure we're not forgotten." He gets serious, a rare shift. His eyes fix on Jacob. They just come back from a patrol that went bad. A friend from another platoon hadn't made it. "If something happens to me, Jake," Michael says, his voice low, "if I end up in one of those boxes, promise me something." Jacob shifts. "Don't talk like that, Mike." "No, I'm serious." Michael grabs his arm. "Promise me, if you get the chance, you stand for me. For all of us, no matter what. Through rain or heat or whatever." He gestures at the harsh landscape. "You hold the line. That's what we do, right? We hold the line. It was a soldier's pact forged in shared danger. A promise to remember. A promise that their lives would mean something. I promise, Mike. Jacob says, his voice steady. No matter what. Michael's grin returns, breaking the tension. Good, because I'd haunt your ass if you didn't. He claps Jacob on the shoulder. Now, are you going to finish that water or just stare at it? The memory fades, the Afghan sun dissolving back into the blizzard's icy fury. The promise, though, remains. It's as real as the rifle in his hands, no matter what. The memory's warmth is gone, and the present crashes back with a vengeance. The snow drives horizontally, now a torrent of ice pellets, stinging his exposed skin. The wind shrieks, a high-pitched sound that grates on the nerves. The ache in his limbs has deepened into a relentless agony. He can't feel his toes anymore, frostbite, a dangerous sign. He stomps his feet, not for warmth, but just to remind his brain they're still there. His crisp, precise movements have grown sluggish, weighed down by the ice caking his uniform. His mind starts to drift. The edges of his thoughts blur as the cold attacks his focus. It's getting harder to keep the count. 21 paces. The number feels distant. He remembers an instructor yelling about the will to survive. In the extreme cold, your body wants to quit, but eventually your mind betrays you too. You have to give it an anchor. His anchor is the promise. He flexes his fingers inside his gloves. He clenches his jaw, fighting the shivers that rack his body, knowing they burn precious energy. He glances at the tomb, its white marble nearly invisible in the swirling snow. Here rests in honored glory an American soldier known but to God. The words are burned into his mind. He's guarding not just a place but an idea, a nation's vow to never forget. And he is the keeper of a personal vow to a friend. The cold can take his feeling, it can slow his thoughts, but it cannot break his promise. He takes another labored step. The storm howls, but he keeps moving. The world shifts again. The whiteout becomes the grimy, freezing mud of a training exercise in West Virginia. Jacob and Michael Younger, then, are huddled in a foxhole, a flimsy poncho stretched over them. They were soaked, their teeth chattering. They hadn't eaten a warm meal in 2 days. I think, Michael said, his voice trembling. My left foot has left my body to find a warmer climate. I wish it had taken the rest of me with it. Jacob managed a weak chuckle. Stop complaining, Sterling. This is building character. My character is currently frozen solid, Michael shot back. You know, for a place called Almost Heaven, this feels suspiciously like the other one. They sat in silence. The misery was profound. It was Jacob who felt the despair first. I don't know if I can do this, Mike, he whispered. Michael turned, his face streaked with mud. The humor was gone. He saw his own exhaustion reflected in Jacob's eyes, but he also found a stubborn spark. Yes, you can, he said, his voice firm. Look at me. You think I like this? I hate every second of it. But we're not quitting. He nudged Jacob. We're a team. You go numb, I drag you. I go numb, you drag me. We get through this together. That's the deal. That night, they pushed each other through the final, miserable hours until dawn. They had held the line. Together. The memory is a furnace blast in the blizzard's core. Jacob stands straighter. He knows how to endure this. He's done it before. The only difference is this time Michael isn't here to drag him. This time he has to do it for Michael. As day bleeds into a gray, indistinguishable twilight, the real enemy appears, crushing absolute loneliness. Time loses all meaning. There is only the storm, the cold, and the relentless marching in his own head. His mind begins to play tricks. The howl of the wind sounds like voices. Whispers at first, then clearer. He hears Major Connolly. He hears his platoon mates laughing. And then he hears Michael. You're gonna freeze out here, Jake. This is crazy. Jacob shakes his head. Not real. He mutters, his voice a hoarse croak, but the voice returns. The promise wasn't about this. It wasn't about dying in a snowstorm. It was about remembering. You've done that. Come on, man. It's enough. The temptation is a physical pull. The voice of his friend of reason offering an escape. A warm room. Survival. His resolve once an iron wall begins to fracture. Was this honor, or was it a foolish, suicidal gesture? He stumbles, crashing to one knee in a snowdrift. For a moment he stays there. The snow is soft. It would be so easy to just lie down, to close his eyes. peace. Get up, Thorn. The voice is different. It's sharp, commanding. It's his own. The part of him forged in discipline and fire. You don't quit in a foxhole in West Virginia, and you don't quit here. You made a promise. You hold the line. He looks at the tomb, a symbol of all the men who never had the chance to quit. They didn't get to choose a warm room. Their choice was taken from them. His promise was to stand for them. To surrender now would be to betray every single one of them. It would betray Michael. With a guttural roar lost to the wind, Jacob forces himself back to his feet. He brushes the snow from his uniform, his movements stiff and agonizing. The phantom voices retreat, banished by sheer will. He was still here. He was still on his feet, and he would see the dawn. The scene is quiet, the sterile air of a military chapel. Jacob is in his dress blues, the same uniform he wears now. He's one of 6 pallbearers. Between them, a flag-draped casket. He doesn't look at the faces in the pews. He can't look at Michael's mother, her face a mask of grief. He can't look at his father, a retired Marine standing ramrod straight with hollow eyes. Jacob fixes his gaze on the flag. The chaplain's words are a distant murmur. The honor guard fires the 3-volley salute, each crack a hammer blow to Jacob's heart. Then comes the sound that breaks him, the lonely, mournful notes of taps. As the last note fades, there is only the sound of a mother's quiet sobs. The flag is folded with sacred precision, a triangle of stars and stripes presented to Michael's mother. In that moment, Jacob understands the true weight of his promise. It wasn't just words between friends. It was a sacred duty. He was now a custodian of Michael's memory. In a world that moves on, he would be the one to remember. He would stand the watch. Dawn is not a brilliant sunrise, but a slow, grudging gray that filters through the thinning blizzard. The wind's howl has faded to a low moan. The world is a sculpture of white and shadow. And in the middle of it, the figure remains. Sergeant Jacob Thorn is still standing. He's more ice than man, a thick rime of frost clinging to his eyebrows. He moves with agonizing slowness, operating on something beyond endurance, fueled by the embers of his promise. A new sound cuts through the wind, the groan of heavy machinery. A snowplow carves a path followed by a Humvee. The relief crew had come expecting to find an empty post. They didn't expect to find him. Major Connolly leaps out of the Humvee, his face a mask of disbelief. He and 2 other soldiers run towards the plaza, stopping dead in their tracks. They are witnessing the impossible. A single soldier having weathered a storm that shut down a coast still walking his post. "Thorn!" Connolly yells, his voice raw. "Jacob!" Jacob stops. He slowly turns his head. He has completed his watch. He has held the line. As Connolly and the others reach him, Jacob's legs finally give out. He sags, caught by the strong arms of his comrades. Connolly kneels beside him, ripping the ice-stiffened scarf from his face. Jacob's skin is pale, his lips blue, but his eyes are clear. "The promise?" Jacob whispers, his voice barely audible. "I kept the promise, sir." Connolly can only nod, his throat too tight for words. He looks from the exhausted soldier in his arms to the silent tomb. In the quiet calm after the storm, he finally understands. Stories of profound commitment, real or imagined, remind us of the incredible strength found in loyalty and remembrance. If you were moved by Sergeant Thorn's vigil, subscribe for more tales of courage that deserve to be told. They carried Jacob Thorn from the plaza, wrapping him in thermal blankets. He would be decorated, though he never saw it as heroism. For him, it was simpler. It was a debt paid, a promise kept. As the sun finally broke through the clouds, its light glinted off the snow-covered tomb. The world was quiet, washed clean by the storm. The post was clear. The watch continued. But for one long, brutal night in the heart of a blizzard, spoken of for generations, a lone guard turned the howling wind and biting cold into a testament. A testament that some promises aren't meant to be broken by storms, or by orders, or even by the limits of human endurance. They are meant to be honored, no matter what.